So, how many of you know Danny before this? We have got some fans here. Okay. Yes. Right. So maybe Danny can tell us a little bit more about yourself. How did you get into the industry? How long have you been in the industry?
Hi everyone on the floor, my name is Danny here. So I got into this industry in 2013. So as just mentioned with Xiu Min just now, I moved here because I have my first newborn baby, so I shift into this industry. So before that, I was in the travel industry for the past 10 years. So like what I mentioned to a lot of peers and colleagues, you can always make use of your previous job experience and how you apply into your daily and your real estate job. So for the previous real estate, previous company that I'm working with, I'm in this ticketing department, so I dealt with a lot of corporate account. So I actually apply the skill set into commercial real estate, whereby I also helping corporate account to scale up their business space. That's how I got to in this commercial real estate.
Right. So you actually went from ticketing to property, and it's commercial property.
Yes.
Right. What makes you make that decision? Why that switch?
Before then, I was
it's a different industry, right?
Yeah. Before I went into commercial real estate, I was one year residential in KLCC. So I'm also actually quite well versed in KLCC properties also. Then 1 year, then I moved into commercial real estate. One of the reasons for me to move into commercial real estate because it is there's a higher entry barrier, so there's a learning curve, so that once you are there, then it's more sustainable, and also because of the newborn, so I need to have more time with the family. So like most of you will be knowing that having a commercial real estate, you don't have to really work during the weekend. So this is one of the benefits in this segment. Yeah. Good job, right?
The aha for this is that in commercial you don't have to work during the weekends. That's quite a good one.
Yeah, I mean during weekdays, haywire, so during night time, you know, do something, propose this or that. But during the weekend, you just hardly get any call. Unless you do something wrong.
Okay, when you say that, you said just now like during the weekdays it get haywire a bit. Can you maybe tell us describe a day in your life like?
Well, most of the time your activities, your viewing, your calls will coming in during the weekday. So there are times like let's say this coming like tomorrow, Thursday, there are actually 11 o'clock, we have 4 appointments, so clash. So that's why we need to build a team. So there are a lot of clashes and they need to, the business owner need to know the information at the fastest manner. So you can't afford to have once you got their inquiry, you got to respond to them fast enough. Not like half a day, 1 day, almost 1-2 hours.
1-2 hours turnaround.
Because it's so competitive nowadays, especially for those in demand property. Because right now, be it landed commercial or landed industrial, they are under supply. So quite intense, the competition.
Right. Maybe Danny can tell us a little bit more like how did you started, like when you started in commercial, like how did you, I think some of us we try to get in, right, and that we always hear it's not easy, there's a lot of things you need to do, there is I think in conclusion not very easy. Why, right? So how did you start it for yourself in commercial? How did you?
Well, this background, this slide is actually more about myself. So I am actually more into business space. We call it business space, office business space. So I dealt a lot with IT services. At that point of time, the very first year, my principal, Kevin, asked me to work into this commercial business space segment. So he asked me to only focus 1-2 segments. Then he showed me a list. I was just look at it. Wow, 1,000 companies. I need to reach out all of them. So then from there, I started to reach out them one by one. So before I call them, I need to understand what business space they are actually currently using. be it a renter, want them, why they are there, any challenges they are facing, and what is the best possible offer I can call them and offer all this. So that's how I get started. I cold call a lot. Yeah, I cold call about 2000. Minimum was 1,000 companies. The whole segment.
In that month, in that week?
Over
the years,
over the years.
Right. Wow.
Because while you engage them, you need to send them proposal, second follow-up presentation on ground to see what's happening on ground for this. So that is how I get started for the business space real estate. So particularly two segments, which is the IT workspace. So we call it shared services and business processing outsourcing. So business processing outsourcing is something like you are like a company, you're helping AirAsia to serve the call from China call in. So you help Singtel in Singapore serve the English call in. So it's outsourcing company call center. Shared services is something like you are working with Shell. So Shell, they do have HR division or so-called procurement division. So this procurement division will be centralized in one region. So let's say the globe is split into three time zones. So each time zone they will have one center to cater their operation. So this is SSC. These are the two segments that I'm looking most.
Right. So let me just unpack what he just said, huh? He said until like, oh, we did this. So what he just said, right, was that Danny actually, when he started, how he started was that your ex-boss was just kind of like pass you 2,000 company and said that call them, right?
Literally call them.
How many of you encountered that before, that your boss or your leader pass you 2,000 names and says just call them?
Because,
how would you feel?
Because I strongly believe as a commercial or business real estate, business real estate, you need to be proactive. You need to be like a hunter. You hunt for lead. You're not waiting lead to coming to you.
Right.
I mean, coming is one thing, but then you have to lead generation, not lead receiving. So this way.
Lead generate.
Yeah,
Right.
lead generation. You go and hunt lead. You in control of lead. It's from cold lead to warm lead. Lead generation, you receive the lead from advertising, and by then there are a lot of competitors out there to serving the same client. Then it's like you have one slice each.
So the one who owns the lead owns the market.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I hear him correctly, what you said just now was that there's 2,000 names, right? But you didn't just pick up the phone and call them. You did your research. Understand the company, know the pain points, what are the questions they might ask, and send in a proposal, and maybe second proposal, and maybe the third one.
Yeah.
Kind of like that's kind of like the process,
Constantly
right?
engagement. Even though they don't require for now, but you wouldn't know whether down the road, say 1 year, 2 years,
Right.
they will come back to you.
Right.
You have to constantly remind them, constantly build a rapport with them.
Constantly keep in touch, high touch. So
Touch.
Okay, so right, wow, that's a lot, right? Like, there's a lot of research you have to do, right? I mean, on top of spending the time to call, there's a lot of research you have to do. There's a lot of. So tell me a little bit more about the research that you do.
I will come to the slide later on.
Okay.
Along the way, we will.
Okay, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, that was
Okay. Where should we go now then? Next one.
Before.
Okay, so you talked about the two places that are spaces that you specialize in shared services and also
BPO, business processing outsourcing.
yeah. So that's the two one that you specialize. When you say specialize, right, means you have done a lot of research, you know them in and out. And how long did you get? Like, how long does it take for you to get there?
Actually, it's not too difficult because you can literally use a job street to derive the segment that you want to serve. The job street, there are so many they're classified into different segments. Then from there you can choose the segment you want to serve. So it's quite straightforward. It's just that how well you know them, whether are they in the expansion mode or are they in a shrinking mode or consolidation?
Right.
Are they getting project from whoever government or national? That's more important. The event-based, how we call event-based.
So kind of know where they are before you actually talk to them, right? I know you prepare a slide of like. So how does a call look like to you when you call them? What do you say?
A call.
Like when you call the company, right? Like, 2008.
It's really quite simple. Whenever I have any product, I just call in, say, hey, this is Danny from ABC Real Estate Company. By the way, we have 250 to 100 workstations with fully furnished. There's going to be available in these 2 locations. Who can I talk to in your business, in your division? Then you just pass it around, and I can submit and go immediately. Quite straightforward.
Why would you say that? Because just now you mentioned that. By the way, I have this, right? You mentioned something. You have there's this 2 workstation and.
Because to them, business unit they count by as workstation. Yeah,
right.
their workstations.
So
how many workstations do they need to have?
Right, but that's also because you actually understand their pain point before you call them. So you know that that's the value that you can give it to them.
Yeah,
so,
of course, it could be a price sensitive approach. It could be a convenience approach. These are the 2 common things you can make full use out of it.
Right. So you're saying that like when you call, you are not just really calling saying that, hey, I got this property I want, or I got this commercial land, I got this thing. But it's really more of like, hey, I have this thing, and then the approach can be price, and the other approach is, sorry, what
price
is it?
and convenience, like
convenience, right?
Usually it's only 4 components: live, work, play, commute.
Live, work, play, commute.
Commute is transportation.
Okay.
So it's work, play.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's really based on the kind of needs that the company might have, and when you call them, you actually are offering them a solution to the pain points that they might have.
Yeah.
Right? I think in the call mentioned like, if there's like car park issue, you knew like the building.
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
If you spot any, there's one development, I can't name it, but it's somewhere around Glenberry. So it's a master plan development with like several office towers. Right now, this place is actually overloaded with the car park. So if you know their pain point, if their stuff even parked along the highway or residential area, you get someone all the time. So I think this is one of the good points. If you call them to offer any new location that can solve their issue, they will be ready to talk to you. It's just like that. Nothing rocket science.
It's just like that. Nothing rocket science.
You have to be observed, and you get to know what is current problems that they're currently facing.
Right.
Problem solution.
Right. So it does sound like when you approach a client, you are going from the what's the problem, what's the pain point, how can I add value to you, how can I be a solution to you. That's the kind of approach. Yeah. And then from there you kind of derive that like, okay, there's kind of like 2 approaches. It's either price or it's either convenience.
We can move to the next slide.
Sure.
This is
which one?
Further down.
This one?
This is the client list that currently I'm
serving
into. So this side will be the office space requirement. Left side will be the industrial space requirement. So these are the clientele that we are looking on for now. So you can ask anything from here.
Do you all have any questions from the floor based on what we just shared? Anyone? All good, all clear? Very good. Any questions you want to ask Danny? Okay. Okay, we'll move on.
These are some of the spaces that I have concluded. So some are warehouse space, some are manufacturing space. So jumbo, cham. So next one will be the business space, more like an office space. So again, actually all these are interrelated one because whatever business owner they have approached you for business space, they likely to opt for a shop or factory or land. So you need to have multiple dimension, multiple offerings to like portfolio management. It's very important. We can move to the next one. So carry on question. It's going to come later.
Okay, I want to ask the floor, like when you come to this session, right, when you attend this, right, what's the one thing that you're really curious about this commercial industrial? What's the one thing that you're curious about? Yeah, can I have a running mic for that? Can you help me with that? Just thank you.
Hi, yeah, to me, Paul. To me, a couple of things. The first one is timeline. Does it take, in comparison to subsale residential, is the timeline radically extended, generally speaking? The other thing I was interested in is, do the commercial guys tend to try and drive down the commissions, or are they generally speaking happy with the same kind of rates that we get in residential?
Okay.
Timeline to close the deal and timeline to get a commission.
Well, generally, as a business owner, for them to, so to speak, to have a planning, usually they will have like 6 months ahead to plan their next 3 to 5 years move. So anything if you can conclude within 6 months, I will consider fast enough. Anything more than that is quite normal.
What is the longest?
Can be 2 years, 3 years, because there are times the property, there are certain condition precedent, as in like conversion to meet some construction timeline, to have some change of zoning, so that will further take more time to handle this. So back to the claim, whenever in Malaysia context, usually once you have the SDSI and transfer, then you're done. Or else if it's tenancy wise, you will be, once you stamp and sign, you're done.
I was actually asking more about, like, for example, a tenancy in residential is normally 1 month, 1.25 months commission, 2 or 3% on sale.
Right.
Same through in commercial?
Commercial is all, it all depends the supply and demand. There are cases like some buildings are more need in help. They are like oversupply. Then that can come to like, even you rent out 1 unit, you can get like six months commission. We heard of that also. But generally, it vary from 1 to 2 months. Quite normal, depending how generous the landlord is. We all like good landlord, isn't it?
Do you have follow-up questions on that?
No, it's interesting to know you said what the longest one was. What's the quickest big deal you've ever done for commercial? Just curious.
3 months. 3 months for like a 6,000 square feet business space. Quite considered fast enough. Yeah.
Did someone say how much?
Go by square footage. So in commercial context, usually we use square footage. You are concluded 100,000 square feet, you are concluded 50,000 square feet.
Okay. I think along the same way in thought, right? I just want to ask, like, to you, right, what is the biggest difference between residential and commercial industrial? Because you were in residential for a year, right?
Yeah.
So what's the biggest difference to you in terms of how you? Commission, we talk about that, right? But in terms of how you the sales process, how you prospect, all that kind of things.
Well, for I think it's different timeline, different way of doing things. Generally, for residential, it's more feeling push up. Once they like it, then you actually book on it. Then it's quite straightforward.
More emotional.
More emotional. For business space, you come in, it's four walls, nothing inside. So you need to demonstrate the value. Not just 4 walls. What can you do with it? The surrounding ecosystem, the live work play issue, or the supply chain arrangement for industrial, or the dynamics for the retail. So all these.
So would you say like the commercial industrial is a bit more logical? They have to kind of like sell a dream, sell a vision, whereas the residential is a bit more emotive.
Yes, it's more logical thinking on numbering, a lot of numbering.
A lot of numbers, a lot of statistics, and all that, right?
Yeah. Of course, there are exceptional like bosses like to stay nearby to their workspace or this and all that. Not many, but they happens, but not many.
It happens before.
It happens with.
Okay. Sorry. I just want to hold that thought over there, and then I want to say that like at any point, if you have any questions about what we say, feel free to raise your hand, and then we'll have running mics to you to ask questions. There you go. This gentleman over here.
I'm John here. I'm focusing in mostly residential. Just wonder, is undercutting deal is quite normal in commercial, or this is not so?
I think the question will be how should be. If you are close enough to your client, you don't have to worry about this. If it's not, then it happens, but you gotta move on also. It happens one. You cannot be avoid all this because it's sometimes it's just too intense competition. It happens one.
Another question, sorry. Just now I'm looking through at your customer portfolio. And how do you build that? Like, let's say just now you're mentioning you started with just calling the 2000 number, right? Then you ask for meetup, is it? Then after that you go to their office and you go and hang out, drink with them, or how do you do that?
Actually, for me, I'm not too social with people, and so I don't really go and drinking or after work. Not too much into it. So even sometimes a simple email for market updates or hey, do you know surrounding your location? There are these 3 new premises. Maybe you should come have a look. What time next week, Wednesday, 11 or 2 p.m. Can I invite you? Out of 10, you get like out of 20, maybe you get 1 or 2. It's a number game.
So you will do like an email blasting. You will do like
yes.
Once you got the products, then you will just look at surrounding those other what they call the tenants, and you will ask them whether you are looking for upgrading.
You have to craft a unique selling point to attract them. There's no.
Okay, once it just hit their hot button, then they will reply you.
Yes.
So your blasting, you will be blasting through their general email. You will blast like to.
We love bosses email.
So you go to their website and you will find, oh, okay, this is the director, and then okay, I will go to the contact us and I will email.
Generally, for small medium enterprise company, you are easy to keep in touch with them. Like companies below sizes below 30, more easier to get the director because they are two different organization chart. The small medium enterprise usually is the manager. The third layer will be the staff, and then the manager, and the director. And if it's a government entity, if it's a multinational, then you have like, again, you have the same, I think 4-layer staff, and then you have manager, the layer, you have head of department, and you have country manager on the regional in Malaysia or in Singapore, and then their headquarters maybe in US or Europe. So like 4+1 layers. So harder to hit, but we're going to use different ways to connect them. Organization chart is very important so that you know who to speak to.
So you will go to the chart, you go online, you search, okay, this is the director, then you will just want to connect with this director mainly. But most of it you will start from the SME, is it? I'm talking about
Both.
whenever you can, however you can.
Yeah,
Alright, thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to just follow up. I really like the question because I think you're kind of really trying to understand from a residential point of view with the commercial industrial, and that probably one of the very big difference, right, is how you actually work with your prospect and how you build that relationship. Like just now you said one thing, if you are close enough with the bosses, the undercut usually doesn't happen. It's very different from residential. Residential is very transactional based, alright? It's like you interested, you buy, It's very like chop, right? But then this one you're saying that I'm actually nurturing them for a minimum of 6 months. 6 months is fast, right? So it's very different, right? Yeah, this is nurturing the database and the whole relationship, and that relationship actually gives you back like a return at the end of the day, right? Yeah. So it's a little bit different, like from the residential and commercial. Yeah, how you approach it. One is a little bit more transactional, the residential. The commercial is a little bit more of nurturing that relationship. Yeah. Do you have a question somewhere here? Yeah. Can I have the mic? Okay, cool.
Hello, I'm Shireen. I want to know that you say that you got 2,000 leads, the boss who gave to you, because corporate is like take longer time, but you say that the shortest, the faster is 6 months, and the longest is 2 years. But the 2,000 leads, how do you arrange and manage to send up to them? And then, especially multinational company, will take years. They will find today from you the factory, and after years, 1 year later, they will find back you again, and for the same criteria. So just how do you manage your time, and how do you actually reconnect to them? How often?
Thank you. Very good question. Anyways, this so-called how do you manage this database? You have to segregate into two distinct groups, whereby fast-moving group and also slow-moving group. So usually I will segregate into two in terms of their company workforce, how many workstation, how many square footage currently, be it a factory space or workspace. You can cut like below 50 is one group, above 50 will be another group. Usually these are the case. Then from there, usually multinational not many in the market, so it's quite easier to finish off all of them. Then the SME is the main driver of Malaysia. So of course both you have to serve both, but you segregate into two groups, and then you send different offering to them, because if you send them to not so relevant, then they will respond to you. Your hit rate must be higher, and then you get to talk to them.
So yeah.
Sorry, how do you break through from the residential to the industrial and commercial? Because there is two different things that you talk to the SME owner and the multinationals directors or those things that you have to read their minds. I mean, you have to know what their aspiration is and talk to them. See. So how do you actually break through? There's a lot of people that you can't break through on this area.
Of course, as a start, what you are doing, you should be doing it, and then you sort of like you 80-20%, 60-40% until you can so balance up your portfolio. You can make enough, then you slowly transition over. So I call it transition because you need to juggle both.
What my question is like, they are some people they are from residential, they have no clue about the industrial or commercial, and how they going to enter to that.
In this case, my answer to you will be, usually you bring them for site visit, then get them to gear up, learn from the ground, then this is something that we see from the ground, then they pick up from there. I think this will be the fastest way. And these are the site visit, and also while doing prospecting together, do it together, then we can feel how to do prospecting from showing to follow up to closing. I think these are the pathway you can have to go through.
Still not to the point that I'm asking, is that you are actually calling 2005, right? You study the customer chart and everything, but those people who actually they are not the technical side. They do not know the technical spec. Industrial is different from commercial. You know, all the different specs and everything, and each category of the client is also different. So how did we are not born to be in that aspect. So how do we enter to that? Because you're saying that you actually directly approach the bosses. So the bosses will ask very sharp questions. And what if the bosses ask a certain question that you really don't know? And you cannot lie. You have to be honest to them. And they say, you don't know anything, then you call me, you see. I mean, I just quote a very straightforward question to you.
So usually what we do, we call it profiling. So profiling is you check out all their corporate information, as well as their latest movement in Facebook and LinkedIn. Then you get to know what is their current movement. It will be something relevant to connect them. Quite useful this is.
So, yes, you still have follow-up questions?
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Jasmine. I'm from KW Malaysia. I would like to ask one question. How do you get started on a business? Like, do you only focus on only one building? Like, let's say when you entering into a commercial property, like let's say you're business officers, all these things. So do you focus only in, to do a farming? You have your own farming area, started as a own farming area like residential?
Yeah, definitely you need to have a farming area, but more important, you need to have a different pricing strategy. What if they cannot afford this? B pricing, you can still shift to A pricing. But if they want better, you can shift to C product. So it's a vertical product development you don't have there.
So it means that you will have to have a lot of listings in the same
You
area.
have a lot of listing that is
Different variants.
different variants but in the single location or the plan.
Oh,
So if I like Big Valley, I have 10,000 budget. If I cannot afford A tower, I can move to B tower. If I cannot afford B tower, I can move to C tower. I still within Big Valley. So likewise, in shop also the same. You can have like highest price point in Bangsa. Then you can move to PTI, you can move to Damansara Utama. So the pricing is there. 6 million, 4 million, 300 million, something like that.
Oh, okay. Thank you, very, very good. Thank you so much.
Is there questions at the back? Ready?
Hi. For industrial and commercial, there's an expectation that the licensing is approved when you recommend the property to them. So different businesses will have different licensing issues. Do you know upfront before you recommend it?
Preferable, yes. So we have to really qualify them what sort of business activities they are having inside the premises. So for referring to industrial, there are only three different activities: manufacturing, assembly, and also warehousing. So it could be heavy, light, and medium. Heavy, medium, light. So usually the one with the manufacturing component, you have more stringent. You need to go through the MITI, MIDA, Department of Environmental, and then business license, local council. So it's more stringent a little bit.
So if let's say the licensing fails after they bought the property, are you responsible?
It's quite technical question, isn't it? Yes or no, isn't it? Usually the lawyer, I mean not all of us will be knowing how to categorize sometimes, because it also depending the discharge, the treatment of the discharge of the factory. So it could be between medium to heavy industry, or it could be a labor also too close to it, too clean industry, or a bit of a heavy utility. So there are arguments, but then it will happen sometimes. Usually you better to advise them to do a PAT test, environment test, to get to know a first level approval before they buy this property. You only cost like few thousand ringgit. For such an investment, they should do a PAT test to get a first level approval before they go for this.
Thank you.
How about for rental of factory?
Rental.
Similar, following up the question from him, how about rental?
Same thing, you still have to go through the PAT test first level before you go. The PAT test is something that recommended.
Hi, I'm Patrick. Thank you, Danny. So your suggestion is to, when the client wants to place a deposit for a rental of a factory, that they go for the client go for a PAT test first before they give the deposit for rental.
Yeah, right.
Why would you handle it this way? Like, why would you approach it this way? Because you're gonna pay it up front.
Because if they didn't get the clearance outright, then they can't get business license. They can operate the business operation in the premises.
So, in other words, don't take shortcuts.
I'm not sure how.
Yeah, I think I just want to actually as I'm hearing the questions, I realized something. Can I have a show of hands? How many of you are in commercial? Right, got it. Yeah, and the rest you are in residential. Yeah, got it. Yeah, so I think it's very interesting to hear the questions and how you actually learn about this industry, because there's a bit of difference, right? And that I want to ask Danny, maybe you can help us to understand a bit more in terms of the process. Like how did you start? Where do you start? Do you start at prospecting or agent? You know, how's the process like? Because I think just now as you answer questions, you mentioned something along the line of someone will shadow you, right? You know, start with a deal and then you go for a site visit, you do the process together. As you go through the process, as there's certain challenges, like whether it's regarding of licensing or approval or whatever, that person will go through it with you. But is that
We
something?
can move to the back, having 3 more
Sure,
slides.
happy to.
One more. Yeah, this is something that I think everyone should go through this report. This is REITs Malaysia report. And then Real Estate Investment Trust report. So you go back to one more slide.
Yeah.
So you get something like this in terms of the supply and demand, and also supply demand and also upcoming buildings available in the market. So the listing is still in here. So you all should have reading on this. New building coming up, new factory, new industrial park coming up, new retail center coming up, new hotel coming up in the next 3 years. Everything here. So these are all the whole listing. They are all here. You're all these people, all these this REITs company. They are hiring researcher from all the big 4 property company to sum up everything for you on behalf. It's like a fingertips for you. So you have a very clear indicator. What is the current supply? What is the current demand? What is the occupancy rate? What should you be looking out for? Who are the people coming into Malaysia in terms of FDI, for domestic expansion? And then what are the buildings available in the market? And what should we look out for? What is all here? All free. And you can just Google anything. Sunway REITs 2021 and you get this.
Any questions about this? You want to take a photo of this slide?
All there,
Yeah, all there.
including Penang, Johor.
In the interest of time, I think just maybe one question for Danny. Like, let's say if I'm from residential, I want to try, to enter here. How do I start? Where do I start? Where do I go? Talk to that, just kidding.
Quite.
How did you start? Like,
Just think
from
of-
residential, right?
Yeah.
Where do you start?
I started from KL Central and KLCC high-rise building,
Alright.
commercial high-rise building. So because I'm familiar with these 2 locations, so because I come in nationally,
Find a place that you're familiar with.
find a place where you are familiar with.
If you don't have,
If you don't have,
pick a place that you want to be familiar with.
or maybe you go back to famous law.
Maybe it's very prepared. Because,
What?
yeah.
Yeah, this one.
Okay.
So this is Malaysia Investment Development Authority. So over here, you tend to have all the segment in terms of services and manufacturing. So you can pick, for example, you want to venture into machinery and metal industry, then you can get to know something like this. You get to know where the money flows, all the money is where the money flows in the respective year. Then from there, you can check out further all this. Let's say for factory, you can check all their peers from Federation Manufacturing Malaysia. There's a booklet you can buy, and then they will segmentize all the different sub-segments for you into different industry. Then you can pick a segment that you think you want to venture into. It could be anything from here, because these are all recommended by government in terms of their business sector. So maybe you can start with a sector in terms of location, or even both.
So you're saying do your research first.
It's all there already. You don't have to research. Just click on it. Like you want to service chemical industry, then you get to understand what sort of real estate class they are currently using. Then you just get to know all this. Then you know where to find them. You know what should you be offering to them.
Yeah,
So
got
this
it.
one is very interesting, whereby if you are you are servicing automotive, then you're sort of like working on the manufacturing facility, warehousing in different region, their showroom 1S or 4S, something like that. So it's a complete chain of real estate of one segment. So this is more fun and
Some
push.
more resources, yeah.
There's
Can
more
you,
fun and push.
can you share with me a bit more about Google Fit? Google Fit.
Google Fits.
Yeah, you know the Fit that you actually have the Fit come to you.
Yeah. 2 more slides later.
Here.
One more. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. Lately we call it event-based. Event-based is, we call it Google Alert. You can put in any keyword that you want to track. It can be anything. Like for my case, I track logistics, warehouse, hotel, industrial land, all these closed down, bankrupt. Then from there you get to know maybe certain player they have expansion, but you can always, let's say for example JNT Malaysia closing down certain facility, then you kind of like knowing this segment maybe they're not doing very good. Then there's an opportunity for you to harvest a listing from other player, something like that. You go to hit around the bush. Yeah. So this is free also. This make full use of Google services.
Question at the back? So this one just go to Google and just Google Alert, right? Search for Google Alert.
Google Alert.
Yeah, it's Google Alert.
Hi, good afternoon. Just a quick one. I missed the earlier part. I would like to know how did you started your 2,000 leads?
2000.
2000 names.
Yeah, 2,000 leads.
How do I get started?
Yeah.
Just call only. I didn't really. It's like I come in because previous company I'm working with. I clock in 9 o'clock. I clock out 5-6 p.m. So if I don't have anything, I'll just call. I don't have anything to do. I'll just make calling and site visit. Make calling, site visit.
I mean, you choose that the people that you call, the names that you call, are they in certain industries?
Oh yeah. That time I'm calling all the IT services companies.
I
IT
know,
services.
so you pick a sector and then...
Pick a sector. So you can always pick a sector like maybe, what is your previous profession?
Myself?
Yeah.
I was an ex-banker.
Ex-banker. So ex-banker, perhaps you want to, in your context maybe you can helping the bank they have a lot of asset. You can help the bank to dispose or acquire asset, something like that if you're doing their operation. I always think back what is your previous expertise, then you make full use of your previous experience. So you don't have to start from scratch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think if you hear you correctly, what Danny shared today is something along the line of if you want to start somewhere today, you want to try, give it a try, you want to start, you want to take that first step, find something that number one you're familiar with. So whether it's your previous expertise or whether it's something that you like this area that I like, this area that I want, there's a lot of money in there, after you do the research. So that's somewhere you can start, right? People say commercial industrial market is difficult. What do you think about this?
It's not about difficult or easy, it's about worthy or not.
It's about worthy or not.
Something
Okay.
worthy, you pursue it, you pay the price.
You pay the price if you think
Pay the
it's
price.
worth it.
If you think it's worthy, you pay the price.
So, any one last questions I'll take? Otherwise, we're wrapping this up. You good? What is the one last thing that you want people to know, about what you're doing, about the industrial, about the commercial market?
I like your analogy, Google services. So we have to offer something like Google services to others. So like Google, I'm sure everybody using Google services, whether it's Gmail, YouTube, Calendar, Google Meet, everything. So likewise in our real estate class, maybe you only service certain sector or certain product range. So you can actually work with your colleague. Maybe you form a sales team. Let's say for example, it could be a demographic sales team, one location, and then all the neighboring you form a sub group to increase your hit rate, or you can or you can work with different segment from office, retail, industrial, land, all this become a team, work as a team, so that whenever the client call you, you go out and meet up the client with your colleague together. Like for instance, you helping bosses to buy a house. For sure, they will ask you, hey, Jenny, do you do this? Do you do that? Yeah, I'm doing. So my colleague will be coming to assist. Okay, your colleague will coming in to sit together to manage the portfolio. So I think something very important. So you have to squeeze something maximum to have maximize the value since you already have the relationship. So do it. That's my thing.
Right. So just do it. No, just do it. Like because you're actually spending the effort to actually nurture this. You want to max out the value. So you want to have like a lot of portfolios to actually cover the needs, and then you want to maximize the value out of it. And if I hear correctly, right, I think one thing that I hear throughout, and that Danny keep emphasizing in different words, in different tones, is this. It looks complicated, but you actually start small and start simple. Correct? Something that's complicated, it looks complicated, you break it down and then you start somewhere that is actually smaller, simpler, or somewhere that makes sense to you, somewhere that you kind of already know. Yeah. Would that be the one thing that we can conclude for today? Yeah.
Sort of like this.
Yeah. With that, I think we'll end this session here. Thank you so much everyone for your time.